Hello and welcome to the Heart of the Piano YouTube channel. I'm Bob Rose. Welcome to this tutorial on The Heart Asks Pleasure First by Michael Nyman from the piano. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about some personal anecdotes to do with Michael Nyman and this piece. If you want to just go straight to the good stuff, if you want to just go straight to the heart of the actual tutorial, I'm going to leave a timestamp above. There'll also be a timestamp in the comments. Just go straight there if you don't want to hear any of my history with Michael Nyman and with this piece. So basically, Michael Nyman was a fantastic film composer. I really liked him a lot in the 80s. He was the film composer for a director called Peter Greenaway. I loved Peter Greenaway's films. They were sort of slightly experimental sort of art house films. One in particular sort of became quite popular called The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover, I think it was called. It was an excellent film. And Michael Nyman's style is like minimalist Baroque, and it just suited the film so well, and I really enjoyed that music at the time. And then he sort of changed directions a little bit when he came out with the soundtrack to The Piano. The Piano is like one of these strange films that women love, and I'm obviously massively overgeneralizing here, but I think that there's some degree of truth to this. Women love this film. It's sort of in a way that I think is mysterious to a lot of men, and was certainly mysterious to me. But I was in my 20s when the film came out, and I remember that I had a girlfriend at the time, and she really wanted to watch the film with me. I think it was kind of like a mood setter, and she was really looking forward to she'd already seen it, and she wanted to watch it with me. And I remember that the film came on, and the everything is in Victorian dress. It's like a costume drama, and so all this music, that was the whole way through. It wasn't far into the film, and I was like, this music just doesn't suit this film. It doesn't suit the visuals. It's contemporary music, and everything is Victorian. And then I was in the doghouse. she wouldn't speak to me for quite a long time because I ruined the film for her. Anyway. So I worked at a festival. And I'm not going to talk about what this was or what my role was, but basically Michael Nyman was taking part in the festival and I was working there. And he'd been commissioned to write a guitar piece. And he'd had ages to work on it, and he'd sort of ended up handing it in, I think, quite close to the wire. And the guitarist looked at it and was like, this is completely unplayable. And what he'd written this big long piece, and it was quite long. It was like, off the top of my head, it was at least half an hour long. And, there were weeks to go till the performance. And he'd basically written a piano piece expecting the guitarist was just going to play it. And this was in no way idiomatic. It's like completely unplayable for a guitar. So what the guitarist did is, at very short notice, with a huge amount of stress, he arranged it into two guitar parts and then videoed himself playing like one half of it, which was then projected while he played like the other half of it live. So sort of, already it's like, does Michael Nyman really know what he's doing as a composer? And then let me just look at my notes. And there was like a question and answer session with him. And let's just say that Michael Nyman carries himself with a lot of confidence. That's the way that I'm going to put it. That's the kind way of putting it. And so there was this very serious question and answer where he was on the stage, very, very serious, and the interviewer was fawning over him, and he seems to be one of these figures that a lot of sort of middle-aged men just really worship, anyhow. So the topic got around to the fact that Michael Nyman had decided at that time to write 17 symphonies. I think he'd written 17 symphonies, or he was on his way to do it. And so, that sounds very grandiose and very impressive and epic. So the interviewer was like, wow, it's amazing to write so many symphonies. And who were your influences? Who are the composers who influenced you with these symphonies? And Michael Nyman, was like, oh, well, Shostakovich, I think, has to be my absolute main influence. My influence with these symphonies. I just love his 14 symphonies. I'm like, What? Now, before really I was heavily into piano. I mean, I played from an early age piano. I was sort of a bit of a prodigy, but really I loved composing. And when I was a teenager, Shostakovich was my primary influence. Shostakovich is the ideal teen angst composer. It's full of angst and anyway. And I'm like just horrified. Shostakovich did not write 14 symphonies. He wrote 15 symphonies. I'm like, you are such a fraud. And I am going to use that. I'm going to be that strong, because if you're going to write symphonies and say that Shostakovich is absolutely your main influence and you don't even know how many symphonies he's written, I'm sorry, you're a fraud. And, at the time, I hadn't listened to his symphonies in years, but, like any time in my life, I could sing you the opening bars of the 15th Symphony. It's a triangle, bing, bing, and the flutes go da-lim-bum-bum, and then the strings dum-dum-dum, da-lim-bum-bum, dum-dum. It's like, how can you not know this if Shostakovich is your main influence for symphonies? I'm sorry, he's a total fraud. And in the concert as well that happened at at this particular event, this was like the Michael Nyman concert. Well, this was a long time ago. This was a long time ago before phones all had really good cameras on and stuff like that. So it was a good while ago. And I think that cheapish point and shoots were kind of on the market if you wanted to take videos. If you were traveling, you wanted to take videos. Anyway, Michael Nyman had spent some time in Mexico. And so the concert opened with shaky, very, very shaky, very amateur video footage of a musician busker on the streets of Mexico City. And this is like, I've been to Mexico City. This is just like there's nothing special about this scene. It's just completely normal. And it went on for a long time. This was like 10 minutes of just a busker just playing on the streets of Mexico City with this very amateurish, shaky footage taken very obviously with a point and shoot. And then at the end of this footage, there was these elaborate titles saying a film by Michael Nyman. And oh my God. So basically, I'm just giving a little bit of a background that in many ways, I don't really have a lot of respect for Michael Nyman, I think. Don't get me wrong, I loved his stuff that he did for Peter Greenaway. Amazing sort of Baroque minimalist stuff. And actually, it's easy to grow tired of... But the way that most people play it, I don't like the way most people play it. And if you listen to my performance, and there's a link above and there's a link below in the description to my performance that I've put up on YouTube, I tried to be a bit more sensitive and bring out some more of the lines that it looks like Michael Nyman put in here, like in the left hand. Well, actually, let me just now draw a line underneath all of the anecdotes that I was talking about, because now we're starting the proper part of this tutorial. So most people just play this piece. No, not even like that, but... And I find it quite hard to play it like that. It really goes against the grain for me to play it like that. But it's basically quite bashed out. And this is how Michael Nyman plays it. It's like, no, I keep bringing out that line. He doesn't do that. Like that. And actually at the concert, sorry, one more little gripe, at the concert where I was working, everyone afterwards said, my child could have done that. But anyway, back to the task at hand. So what I noticed, and by the way, as always, I recommend having the book open in front of you if you have it and you're interested in learning it, so you can follow all the things that I'm talking about. Now, most people, I think, just only focus on... the notes with the stems going up. But if you look at the left hand, you've got tenutos on your bottom note, and you've got this kind of secondary melody in the left hand, which is the ones with the stems going up. So if I just play the left hand with the right... So if I play the left hand with the stems going up only, but with the right hand, let me see if I can do this. So there's that hidden tune in there. And this is something that I sort of worked on bringing out when I was learning this. Like, I mean, I'm doing it a bit too much now, but just, in fact, I'm going to really exaggerate. It's not going to sound good, but just to illustrate. And then it doesn't really happen for the next few bars. But if you then go and look over the page, like if we look from bar 11, then in the left hand again, you've got this. And I'm bringing the right hand down and bringing the left hand up to kind of exaggerate this. Except here it's the tenutos. It's not that you've got some stems going up and some stems going down. I'm bringing out the tenutos. So from bar 12, you're doing the same thing. Hang on, yeah. And so on and so on. By the way, there's a lot of misprints, which is really shocking, I think. I didn't realize this when or did I? I think I did realize this when I reviewed the book. So I think in my review of this Trinity book, there are all my corrections of the misprints. So for example, bar 13 has a misprint, and I checked it with loads of other editions. They are definitely misprints. There's a misprint in bar 13, there's a misprint in bar 14. So bar 14, for example, the left hand should be... It should be G, C there, not what they've written. So there's a lot of misprints. And I will leave a link to my to the review, my podcast review of this Trinity syllabus. But also I will list the misprints in the description below. So hopefully that'll be useful for you. There are quite a few. So anyway, it's actually incredibly difficult to play this piece for a few reasons. One is that the pattern in the left hand just keeps changing all the time. So it's like it goes down, it goes up, down, down, down. So it does that for a while, and then it starts to kind of change direction. So for example, bar 9 goes... So instead of... it goes... which is a different pattern. And these patterns just sort of keep changing all the way through, which makes it very difficult to memorize. And it means that you've got to be really on it in terms of being able to read it as you're playing it. If you want to play it accurately with all the correct notes, which is pretty important if you're taking it for an exam, then it's quite difficult. Now, interestingly, you know, a lot of people like Valentina Lisitsa's version. Yeah, her version's not bad. I'm normally not a massive fan of her playing, but she does a reasonable job with this piece, better than most. But if you read the score and listen to her playing it, there's wrong notes everywhere. But you know, they don't matter because they don't sound wrong. But if you're actually following the score, a lot of the time she's not actually playing the right notes. So she's kind of cheated, if you like. But to actually keep playing all the right notes is quite challenging. So, you know, another thing as well is to be able to bring out this the melody. So and, you know, that's reasonably challenging. But so, and then it's really challenging if you start to then try and do all the things that Michael Nyman has written in the left hand, which is like, you've got this. And no one does that. I don't think Valentina Lisitsa, she doesn't do much of that, but I really like this. I'm trying to make it a little more subtle here. And then you don't need to do any of that there, but you do as soon as you get to bar 9. And then you need to decide how much do you bring out the notes with the tenutos. I didn't really bother with that so much, but you could. But then it starts to become really challenging. You've got a lot of things to juggle here. But even just playing the beginning, bringing those thumbs out in the left hand, and bearing in mind you don't want to thump them out. They've got to be, tuneful. It's got to sing. Da, da, da. And, it's a lot to balance, especially as you go on. There are some moments which is technically quite tricky. So, for example, bar 14. And bear in mind, it's been a couple of weeks since I recorded this. So there's some tricky moments where you need good fingerings to get your way around all of this stuff. Let's see. Whoops. Point in case there. I went to the wrong pattern there in the left hand in bar 16. All these patterns keep changing. It's really tricky. And then something else that I hadn't noticed when I did my review. If you look at the gap in between the right hand and the left hand in pretty much most of the way that Trinity have edited it in their book, there's this massive physical gap between the right hand and the left hand, which makes it really difficult to read it, because you've got to kind of because you don't want to just look at the right hand, look at the left hand, look at the right hand, look at the left hand. This is a topic for a whole different video, but I kind of look sort of in between the right hand and the left hand and absorb everything going on at the same time. And that's quite tricky here because there's a lot of physical separation between the right hand and the left hand. So anyway, you can just play loud like Michael Nyman does without bringing any of this stuff out in the left hand, as long as you bring out the melody. I can't help but bring that left-hand thumb out. I'm sorry, I'm trying to demonstrate it without it, but I can't help it now. You want a little bit of a slowing down there, and what everyone is going to need to do here is that the stems going up in the right hand is louder than the ones with the stems going down. So it's not... Although now I play it like that, that is how everyone plays it. I think everyone just goes... and certainly from here. And it's not far off how the original soundtrack went as well. But the minimum, I think, makes the melody is with the stems going up. Except I disagree. In bar 3, is that only bar 3? Yeah, in bar 3, at the end of bar 3, you've got... And you have that E with the stems going up twice. I think it's just... And then this, to me, shouldn't have a stem going up. It's that note continuing, in my opinion. Yeah, whoops. And you probably notice I like a lot of rubato, because most people, they just hammer their way through it, like... Whoops. But I like it with a bit more. If I go from bar 5... I think this is just so much more musical, in my opinion. I don't know why people don't play it this way. I haven't heard anyone play it in this way that I think really suits it. So I also personally think that bar 19, fortissimo, it's too much. And also notice how the notes change in bar 19. So here, it goes to a D in the right hand, which is really awkward, and there's no good reason for it. But I tried to do it because that's just what he's written, and that's what you need to play for your exam. But I don't know why it changes there. There's no reason for it to. But anyway, I think here fortissimo. Why bash away at it? So if you listen to my performance, I just can't bring myself to play fortissimo. I can't. And then going on into bar 21, a little bit faster, più mosso, a little bit faster. FF molto marcato, really ba 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 ba. I can't bring myself to play like that. I can't hammer it. It's basically saying hammer it. I can't bring myself to hammer it. And then when it says a tempo in bar 24, a tempo implies usually that's the speed of the beginning. So I don't think that's actually what he meant, but what I've taken it as, how I personally want it is, it goes a little bit faster in bar 21. And notice that it's accent, bring that melody note, and then tenuto, which means to me just linger on it a little bit, like something like that. Not just, but more like. And then getting slower. And now here, I think slower and quieter, personally. And notice how I'm bringing the melody out. And the melody here are accents and tenutos. And notice I'm bringing out the accent in the left hand. Accent left hand here. And then accent both hands. Accent left hand. And then I'm in a lot of minds about how to end it. Do you end it, if I go from bar 28, do you slow down? Or do you do what I do, which is just speed into it? Which I prefer as an ending. I think that's a much stronger ending, because we've already had because I think that the problem structurally is that how do we know this is the end? Because there's so many places where this could sound like the end. And we've already had the moment where it slows down in bar 23. So if I go from 22, it's faster. Now that could be the end, but it then goes. And this could be the end, but it isn't. And then we come back into this. And although it's in 5, the semiquavers are in 5, it still sounds very similar to the beginning. So if we slow down again in bar 28, it doesn't really sound like the end to me, because there's been so many false endings. So that's why I'm like. And that's quite, it like hits you in the stomach. It's like, oh, and this to me is a much clearer sign that it's the end. And you do something very theatrical with your hands as well, so that you've got this. You make it very physically obvious that you've finished. I don't think really I've got an awful lot more to say than that, except just please don't bash this out. But even if you bash it out, like from bar 3 and play. Hang on, that's the wrong rhythm now. It's so hard to make myself play it this way, but. the whole piece suddenly becomes way easier to play, way easier to play. And that's why most people play it this way. And to be absolutely frankly honest, if you play it that way, you'll probably get decent marks in it. So, you know, if you just want to pass your exam, you can play it like that. It's going to be pretty easy to learn and you'll do well. But please, you know. Or maybe you don't like it the way that I'm playing it, and that's absolutely fine. This is just my opinion. You know. That's how I prefer it, but you can if you want. Forgive me for my wrong notes. So yeah, anyway, there it is. Probably one of my shortest tutorials ever because there really isn't that much to say about this piece. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. You don't have to agree with me. And in fact, if you disagree with me, please do leave comments. I won't be upset if people disagree. You know, this really is just my opinion. Happy practicing. If you enjoyed this video, please do take the time to support the channel in all the usual ways, such as liking, subscribing. If you want notifications, you know, click on the bell icon and then you'll know when more videos come out. I've got lots of videos planned, not just Trinity and exam stuff, but a whole load of other stuff. Yeah, go do some practice or watch some of my other videos and see you at the next one. So take care, enjoy yourselves. Goodbye.